Today we're going to present you with our plan for the farming property beside Big Creek. Our plan has four main principles, which include restoration, conservation, protection, and education.
The main problems that we're going to be addressing with this presentation are that the farmer each year has to purchase hay for his cattle and bees to pollinate strawberry fields. Additionally, there's a negative effect on the stream as a result of agricultural activities, and there's a lot of erosion to the stream because of the cows. There's also a lot of endangered species that live in that neighborhood and a lot of invasive species that are getting in their way. Finally, there's a huge problem with overgrazing in the fields.
So there are some short-term and long-term goals we want to accomplish from this. One of our short-term goals is to save money for the farmer. There's also getting the community involved in what we're doing, attracting more bees to the strawberry fields, reducing soil compaction in the grazing area for the cows, and restoring some rangelands, which are an endangered land type here in North America. We also, in the long term, want to promote biodiversity, reduce stream bank erosion from the stream, save brown trout and bobolinks, which are two species that may be of concern, and to improve stream health by balancing nutrients and reducing water contamination.
The first solution we will be addressing is management-intensive grazing with native grasses. So in the cow pasture over here, which is 30 hectares large, we will be dividing it into 3 sections of 10 hectares large each. We will then be planting range field grasses into these areas here, starting with pastures 2 and 3, leaving pasture 1 for the cattle to stay in while the pastures here.
This solves the problem of overgrazing, and it helps as we are dividing it with a 10-meter tree line as a buffer. And this is a natural division instead of a fence being put up. So the way that this impacts the soil is that the grasses that are being grown are being used for hay, and they are drought-resistant natural grasses that can be planted in the spring and will still be growing in August, which is when the farmer had to previously buy hay, which will no longer be the case. It'll impact the soil because these grasses that are growing will have long roots that can be put into the soil, and that increases the organic matter in the soil, as well as adding in essential nutrients such as potassium, phosphorus, nitrogen, and it also helps with sequestering carbon as these grassland roots are doing. Examples of these plants that we're going to be putting in there is the little blue stem, which will be helpful and it'll be used instead of hay.
There will also be a rotation system in place with the pastures, so that while the plants in pastures 2 and 3 are maturing, the cows will be in pasture 1. After 1 year, the cows will rotate to pasture 2, leaving pasture 1 available for planting the grasses. The next solution we'll be addressing is implementing the buffer zones in well to prevent the problems which were encountered with the stream. So what we will be doing is putting a fence line around where the pastures were, which will stop the cows from getting to the stream, which previously would have had problems with cow waste getting into the stream, which creates problems for the stream, such as eutrophication, and also there's erosion around the stream because of the cows there as well. This also creates channel widening. The next thing we will be doing is putting a buffer zone between the fence and the stream, which solves the problem of erosion because the plants that we'll be planting in the buffer zone stop the soil from eroding from that area. Because we will be planting grasses into the pasture, it will also create slower runoff from water, such as from precipitation into the stream. Because the cows no longer have access to the stream, which means they do not have any water from the stream, we'll be putting in a solar-powered well in the middle of all 3 of the cow pastures so that they can be accessed depending on which pasture they are in. There will also be a water trough around the well so that the cows can access the water.
The next area of concern that we are addressing is the farmer's strawberry fields. So previously the farmer had to buy bees every year to pollinate in the spring the strawberries. So now we're separating the strawberry fields into these sections over here, and in between them there are those narrower patches of the native grasses, such as the pollinator hedgerow, which is a native grass that will attract bees and other pollinators to come into the area and to help pollinate the strawberries. Doing this type of farming will also help in reducing erosion, as the tall grasses that are being planted along with the pollinator hedgerow are going to be taller than the strawberry fields, so they will have more access to the atmosphere and the wind and air erosion, and they'll be the ones that will be in touch first. It also separates the strawberry fields and helps in the rotation cycle when we are rotating them.
The next problem we'll be addressing is the problem of wildlife. And the problem with the wildlife right now is that there are a few endangered species, such as the brown trout and the bobolink. The farmer likes to fish for brown trout in the stream, which isn't great because it is slightly endangered. So we would request that the farmer instead fishes for the rainbow and brook trout, which are plentiful in the stream, instead of the brown trout, so that they have a chance to replenish. Additionally, the bobolink, an endangered songbird, has recently been spotted coming back into these areas. We would like to protect it, so we would like to set aside these rangelands that we would restore back to their natural habitat, which is where the bobolink lives. Additionally, bobolinks are ground nesting birds, so what's really the problem for them is that humans and agricultural activities have a tendency to step on or destroy their nests. So we would request that these areas are able to be completely by themselves with no humans going inside except for monitoring, and also that there would be no farming activities in these areas that would be restricted to the cow pastures. Additionally, any maintenance that needs to be done would be done after mid-July when their nesting is over. The final problem is the invasive species, and the main invasive species in this area is the brown-headed cowbird, which is a parasitic brood bird and takes over nests. So they are mostly attracted to farmlands, so we would keep them up in the farming area, and by not putting any perches or fencing down here, it would deter the cowbirds from that area.
There are also problems with invasive plant species, particularly in the rangelands. One thing that we could do is mowing and haying, which would discourage these species from growing. We could also perform prescribed burns every few years in the rangelands, such that only the plants that are very drought resistant and native to rangelands will be able to survive and thrive. We can also do interseeding, which is a process where seeds of native grasses are planted. And this can be done as a community event. So we can involve the community, and they can come in and get together and plant seeds. We can also turn this area over here, seasonally flooded area, into a ecotourism area, where we can implement a boardwalk over there, such that we can bring people in and show them about and tell them about the different species that live in the area, and the different and the diversity of life that lives there. And we can hold seminars that encourages them to help save these species and tells them about why it is important to make sure they survive. We can also do monitoring in the area, so we can call in experts to see if our rangelands are performing nicely and if we have the right type of grasses growing for a healthy rangeland.
The economic issue that comes with all these practices is that is our plan feasible? And we say yes because we're reducing costs in different areas such as the hay and the beehives. Also, what we are doing is by bringing in management practices, we are saving time and money by reducing the destruction and degradation of the land. Also, this improves the livestock health, which ultimately helps the farmer with his livestock. Also, the economic benefits are limitless because in the long term this investment will bring in many people in the community who get involved and will result in the continuation of the environment. Also, we've taken into consideration all the stakeholders involved, such as the farmer. We're making sure that all the needs of the farmers are addressed, as well as the community's needs by implementing, hopefully, an open house for the ecotourism opportunities and getting them involved with the interseeding and other volunteer opportunities. So we have taken into account the different economic issues that may arise and the stakeholders part of this plan.
Thank you for taking the time to see our proposal.